Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. I hope everyone had a wonderful week. It's great to be with you virtually on this Shabbat to celebrate together. We have a very special service this evening. We are delighted to welcome Rabbi Berenbaum, who is Zooming in with us from Brookline, Massachusetts. And you know what, Tommy, can you shoot over to Rabbi Berenbaum for a minute so we can say hi to her, please? We want to you can, Rabbi Berenbaum, if you want to unmute yourself for a moment and say hello to everybody.
Hello, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, Tommy, we can head back to me. Thank you very much. We're really delighted to have Rabbi Berenbaum with us this evening. Later on in the service, she will be speaking. We're going to have our traditional Shabbat service, and she will be our guest speaker. We're really looking forward to hearing from her. We want to thank the Daniel Pearl Education Center for bringing her to us this week. I really apologize for our technical difficulties. Thank you for your patience this evening as we got our links straightened out. If anybody you know is trying to get on the service, please tell them to check their email. We sent an email with the correct link out just a few moments ago. So we're going to dive right into our opening song this evening. Our opening song for this Shabbat is Hine Mato. It's on page 10 of our prayer book. Hine Mato. Shabbat Shalom, Cantor. How are you?
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
It's great to be with you and celebrate our Shabbat service together. Shabbat Shalom, Kevin.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi.
Our service will continue now with the blessing for the Shabbat candles. That may be found on pages 2 and 3 of the prayer book. Pages 2 and 3, you're welcome to rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who hallows us with your mitzvot and commands us to kindle the light of Shabbat. Our service continues on page 4 of the prayer book. Vayi Erev, Vayi Boker, Yom HaShishi. And there was evening and there was morning, the 6th day. You are welcome to rise now as we continue with the Kiddush, page 5. You may be seated. Our service continues now on page 6. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. Our service continues now on page 20 with Lecha Dodi. enter in gladness, enter in joy. Come to the people that keeps its faith. Enter, O bride, enter, O bride. Our service continues now with the Chatzi Kaddish, page 26. And I'll be reading now on page 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. We turn now to pages 34 and 35. You are welcome to rise as we offer the Shema together.
תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Our service continues now on page 40 with Mi Chamocha. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue now on page 44 with the Shofar.
Lord.
Thank you, Cantor. Our service will continue now with the tefillah, beginning on page 46. Please rise.
Adonai sifata tiftach ufi agitilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibur v'Hanoram, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevii G'lola Livnei B'nehem, L'Ma'an Shemo V'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Yezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Michayei HaKol atah Rab L'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Modrin HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, U'Matir HaSubrim, U'Mkayem Emunato, Lishenei Avam, Michamocha B'Gevorot, U'Midom Melach, Melech Memit, U'Mechayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, B'Ne'eman atah Le'Hachayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Michayei HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom, yavelu chasela, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Our service continues now on page 60 with Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace.
Ki
our country, I'll be reading on page 61. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael v'shalom. We continue now on page 259, with the prayer for the state of Israel. Sha'alu shalom Yerushalayim, Yishlayo ohavayich. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. Avinu shebashamayim, sur Yisrael v'goalo, barech et medinat Yisrael, reshit smichat geulateinu. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. We turn back in the prayer book now to page 253. As we prepare to offer the Misha Berach prayer now, we call to mind all those in our lives in need of healing, whether that be a healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. If there is someone in your life in need of a healing prayer, please type their name now in on our YouTube comments so that we may think of them and pray for them as well. Misha Berach, Avotenu, Vimotenu, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, U'yivarech et hacholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion, for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, and let us say, Amen. Third Friday of the month. That means it's time for birthday blessings. So if you are celebrating a birthday in November, I invite you to type in your name on YouTube and put your name and the date of your birthday in November. You don't have to tell us how old you are. That's up to you. So I'm going to offer a blessing now for the birthdays, and then we will welcome everybody and share the birthdays with everyone. So, God, you have sustained us and brought us to this place in the journey of life. Let us look out with wisdom from the high ground of our years and experiences. Let us gaze towards the past and future with a heightened sense of your presence as our God. Today, as you celebrate the continual unfolding of your lives, may you be struck by the wonder of being. May kindness and compassion be upon your lips, and may strength and courage be with you in your comings and goings. O God, our Creator, you are the first and the last. May our lives ever be a song of praise to you, and let us say together, Amen. Calling all November birthdays. Where are you? Are you out there? No, looks like so far nobody. Well, we're going to sing now to the November birthdays that are in the world, and if anybody comes up, we'll mention them as well. So, if your birthday's in November, here we go.
Yom Yom
All right, friends, I see 2 November birthdays. Jerry Burke, November 14th, and Ira Whitman, November 24th. Yom Huledet Sameach, happy birthday. All right, now, friends, at this time we are going to work a technological miracle. We have myself and Cantor and Kevin here in our sanctuary in East Brunswick, New Jersey. We have Cy Levine in North Brunswick, New Jersey, and we have Rabbi Berenbaum in Brookline, Massachusetts. And it's really a great pleasure to be with everybody, and we're really very much looking forward to hearing Rabbi Berenbaum. I want to say I can see her on the Zoom meeting, and she's smiling, and so I think she's having a good time with the service, and we're really looking forward to hearing from her. So at this time, I'm going to turn the program over to Cy Levine. Cy, I'm going to unmute you in a moment, and if you would like to introduce our guest speaker. So I think you need to unmute yourself. Yep. There you go.
Okay, here we go. It's my pleasure to introduce Rabbi Tiferet Berenbaum, currently Rabbi of Congregational Learning and Programming at Temple B'nai Shalom in Brookline, Massachusetts. She studied at Tufts University in Medford, Massachusetts, majoring in Judaic studies and clinical psychology. She received rabbinic ordination and a master's in Jewish education from Hebrew College in Boston, and spent her summers in the Berkshires living, growing, teaching, and serving at the Isabella Friedman Jewish Retreat Center. She served as a rabbi to congregations in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Mount Holly, New Jersey, before stepping away from the pulpit and returning home to Temple B'nai Shalom. The way we discovered Rabbi Berenbaum was by reading an article in a Jewish publication that we received, and I showed it to my wife, Sue, and said, you know, here's someone who we might be very interested in having.
You're bleeding.
Rabbi, I'm having a problem, obviously. Could you take over?
Oh, yes, if you could head back to me.
I'm sorry.
No, that's quite all right.
No, I can continue.
Thank you. So at this time, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome Rabbi Berenbaum and to share some words with us. And Rabbi Berenbaum and I are both Tufts alum. We are alum of Tufts University, and it's a great school, and we're delighted to have you. So Rabbi Berenbaum, if you want to unmute yourself, the floor is yours. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much, Rabbi Eisenkramer. Thank you, Cantor, for such a beautiful Kabbalat Shabbat service. And thank you, Sai, for your persistence and your faith. I feel like the third time is the charm, right? Like that's what they say. The first time I was scheduled to come and join your community, I broke my foot bone, and that was terrible. I was on my way to the train station. And then I was scheduled to join you in March, and then the pandemic happened. And so here we are tonight. I'm so thrilled. It's been a long time coming. So again, thank you so much, Temple B'nai Shalom family. Thank you to the Daniel Pearl Education Center. Just thank you. It's fantastic. So I'm here to share a little bit with you about my rabbinic journey. I am the second ordained African-American woman as a rabbi in the United States. And, I want to say the world, because ordaining women as rabbis is a pretty, it's been an American thing. It's spreading to other countries, certainly, but it's been an American thing. So I want to share a little bit with you about how I ended up on this path. It goes pretty far back to when I was 7 years old. And I remember distinctly putting on my dad, Alav Shalom, putting on his brown robe and turning over my, it wasn't a nightstand. It was like a shelf in my room. And I basically created a bima for myself. I lined up all of my stuffed animals on my bed, and I gave my first sermon. And they were the best congregation. They were so quiet. And then I was talking about how we should have to love God. And then I ran around to sit with my stuffed animals to tell them to be quiet, but they were already being quiet, so it was fine. Then I spent some time in Catholic school. My parents are Southern Baptist, and so we went to Catholic school, which is actually kind of random because that wasn't our religion. But, of course, in many towns, that's where you get the best or a better education. And when I was in 6th grade, I had religion classes and discovered my passion for religion. I started deeply reading our religion class textbook. I mean, I carried it everywhere with me. It was highlighted, it was marked up, I took notes. And so around the holidays, I started writing sermons for my parents. And God bless them and their patience. I remember one Christmas, I'm an only child. So I would come downstairs and the whole living room was filled with gifts. And they were like, honey, open your gifts. And I was like, wait, I've prepared some remarks for this occasion. And they sat down and my mother's like, I'll just open your gifts already. And I delivered a 15-minute sermon on what the meaning of Christmas really was. So that's sort of where my love of text and my love of translating text in a meaningful way for others began. And so my parents are very spiritual people, and they grew up in the church, but they, as I'm discovering being the parent of a young child, they left the church when I came along. So I didn't grow up in a community. I grew up with spiritual parents, but not religious parents, which is, a thing now, according to the Pew study anyways. A lot of people are spiritual, but not religious. So I had my first God experience sort of organically while I was in Catholic school. I discovered that prayer worked for me. I grew into a relationship with God in a friendly way. And, I was in Catholic school and everyone was full of this reverence. And I was just talking to God, God was my friend. And so that conversation started when I was in 6th grade, and it really hasn't stopped since. But I wasn't at that time a part of any community because, I wasn't Catholic and I wasn't going to church. I was just talking to God. And so I continued on this spiritual path through high school and into college. My boyfriend at the time was Jewish, and his father, Rabbi Shalom, passed away. And so we went to Hillel to say Kaddish for him. And I discovered a Friday night service. I discovered the most magical experience. It was literally everything I was looking for. The service was quiet, and that was something I was really looking for, because growing up Southern Baptist, I mean, the music was blaring. It was great music, but like, I was looking for the spiritual experience. And it was hard for me to connect when the drums were going and people were singing and all of this. And I thought to myself, it'd be so nice if I just had some quiet time to reflect as a part of my worship. And then I discovered that the people in this service were reading the Bible in the order of the books, and that's something that I took upon myself to do in order to really understand the story. And I thought, wow, these people are reading the Bible in the same way that I'm reading the Bible. And the Sabbath, the service that we went to was on Friday night. And I learned that the Sabbath was on Friday night and Saturday. And I thought again, oh my gosh, these people are keeping their Sabbath the same day I keep my Sabbath. Because when I was after that 6th grade encounter with God, I really started taking on more spiritual practices, just like pulling them out of the air, because no one was giving me any of this stuff. So I decided for myself that my Sabbath was going to be on Saturday. And I didn't do any homework on Saturdays. I didn't make plans with my friends. I just let it be my own personal day of rest. So when I discovered this group of people doing exactly the same things, many of the things that I did, I thought, oh my God, I think these are my people. So I found a synagogue here in the Boston area. I started working with a rabbi, and I underwent a process of becoming a Jewish soul, identifying as a Jewish person. And my sponsoring rabbi, we would talk all the time, obviously, like we had a lot of contact throughout that process. She told me, with my passion, that I should probably go to rabbinical school. She told me I should do 2 things. One, I should teach Hebrew school, and then I should go and be a rabbi. And so I thought, okay, I'll go do both of those things. She's the rabbi. This is what she's suggesting. I'll go do it. And so I was still at Tufts. I picked up, after my classes, I picked up a second major in Jewish studies. And I knew that I couldn't yet go to rabbinical school because frankly, I just didn't have time to do the application. And they wouldn't have accepted me anyway straight out of college, because you have to go live life a little bit. So I went to go and teach Hebrew school, which was a fantastic experience. And then I looked for a rabbinical school, and figuring out where I could learn in a way that I could bring my full self was challenging. And so I looked first at JTS, but I didn't feel like I belonged. And I had a negative experience with someone who was not on the faculty there, someone who just happened to be there. And I said, I don't think I belong here. I think I would have to put parts of myself into a box in order to fully belong in this space. And in that time of my searching, I discovered the writings of Rabbi Dr. Art Green. And I still feel today, when I read anything that Art writes, I feel like, wow, that's exactly what my soul wants to say. You just say it so much more beautifully. So I went to visit Hebrew college and fell in love with it. And that's where I started my rabbinic education, started and finished my rabbinic education. So Rabbi Crystal, my sponsoring rabbi and my first rabbi, told me that I had to go and teach Hebrew school. And so I had a lot of passion for that, and I didn't have any skill. So I started in the Masters of Jewish Education program, and have since completed that program with the smicha. which equipped me to go into the world and to do what to bring to other people what really spoke to me. And so my doorway into Judaism was a deep love of Shabbat. And it came at a time when I was so busy in my life, and then to discover that there was this God-given day off. I was like, why aren't more people leaning into this? And I went to school here in Brookline, which is a very Jewish town. And I had no idea of how amazing Judaism was, because a lot of my classmates were like, oh yeah, I go to Hebrew school, or oh, I go to Monday night school, which was for the teens. And people, they weren't enthusiastic about it. I'm like, this is amazing. What are you guys not realizing? So my rabbinic journey, I promised myself I would go to school, I would do all of this learning, and then I would give back to Jews that I encountered their traditions and show them how amazing they are, and bring them with me on this journey of love that I've been on with Judaism for the last, 15 years. So that's been my experience. And so after Hebrew college, I went to Milwaukee, like Sai said, and that was the first time I realized that I was Black. And I know that sounds very strange, but I grew up in Brookline. I just lived a life where race was not an issue. Race was not something that was discussed in my home. And I got to Milwaukee, which was very segregated, and I really felt my Blackness. And from that moment on, I've been more aware of the racial climate of our country. And right shortly after that, Michael Brown, alav shalom, was murdered in Ferguson, which was in Missouri, not too far away from where I was in Milwaukee. So I was able to jump on a plane and go over to march on the streets of Ferguson. That was my first time really, showing up for something like that. And I felt like I had to go, not because I was Black, but because I was Jewish. That is our call, to say this, to experience this feeling of never again. And I'll talk a little bit more about, that connection in our second session. And so I discovered a lot of connections and ways that I could serve as an African-American woman, as an African-American rabbi when I was in Milwaukee. And that work felt very soul nourishing. And I was able to do I shouldn't say a little, I was able to build bridges between two communities that, experience the tension of, I don't want to say of the day, but the tension between race and really it's just race and culture and class and all of these things that are so interwoven together. And then I spent some time in South Jersey as well. And after a while, I realized that my heart was really here in Boston. I needed to be in a place where I could do this very important racial work, and to be in a place that really was committed to social justice and didn't just, was really living that life and expressing their Judaism in that way. So I am, thank God, back home at Temple B'nai Shalom, where I am able to devote my rabbinate not just to social justice, but to educating, which was my very first passion, to sharing the beauty of Jewish traditions with Jews, and doing ambassador work and sharing it with other people of other faiths. And I can bring my full self to this position and to this job. So thank you so much for listening. And I'm looking forward to having a conversation in however many minutes about the intersection of race and Judaism.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Berenbaum. In a moment, I'm going to turn it over to Andy Boyarsky, who's going to share a few remarks on behalf of the Daniel Pearl Education Center. Rabbi Berenbaum, I do have one question for you, though. Did you also study with Rabbi Jeff Summit at Hillel when you were there? Was he there when you were there?
I did. Yes, he was my first Talmud teacher, and he was, obviously still the Hillel rabbi, and now he's at Hebrew College, so he's, still in my family here in Boston.
Well, I just thought it was pretty amazing because I knew you went to Tufts, but I didn't realize that was such a formative part of your own journey. That was a formative part of my journey because I used to study with Rabbi Summit, and that's what helped me make my way to rabbinic school. So go figure, Tufts Hillel. Go Tufts Hillel. Anyway, let me turn it over now to Andy Boyarsky. I want to thank him and the DPEC for having Rabbi Berenbaum with us this evening. Go ahead, Andy.
Thank you, Rabbi, and thank you, Rabbi. So we are so happy on behalf of the Daniel Pearl Education Center to have finally hooked up with you. It's been more than a year since we've initially tried to get you to come down, and it's been a wonderful story, and certainly made a wonderful story for our Shabbat service tonight. I guess there's a lot of amazing beshert in your life after that little talk that you gave. I hope you all have enjoyed listening to Rabbi Berenbaum, and we hope that you'll join us after services are over tonight on Zoom, and we'll have a time for you to talk to her, and she's going to continue her story of her journey and kind of talk about things that make her a very important contributor to the Daniel Pearl Education Center. Obviously, a female African-American rabbi fits right into our mission. If I could just make one quick little advertisement for DPEC to continue our lecture series on December 8th. We're going to be having Mark Newhouse talk with us. His parents are Holocaust survivors from the Lodz ghetto, and they survived Auschwitz, and he's written books about this, and we think that'll be very interesting. So thank you, Rabbi Berenbaum, again for joining us tonight. Thank you, Rabbi Eisenkramer, for letting her share the pulpit with you. And Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Thank you very much, Andy. At this time, we are going to continue our service now with the Aleinu prayer. That may be found on page 282 of the prayer book. You are welcome to rise.
Before
also like to wish a special happy birthday to Russell Annenson from November 6th. Happy birthday, Russell. We turn now in our prayer book to page 294. As we prepare to recite the Kaddish prayer, our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. On this Shabbat, we recall for Yartzeit Rita Biederman, David J. Blackman, Clara Cohen, Ruth Elner, Ida Fisher, Michael Goldband, Sidney Green, Lawrence Larry Greenspan, Bessie Grohl, Minnie Gursky, Lillian Heim, Max Katz, Bertha Lauer, David Lefkowitz, Gary Pardo, Cy Plans, Bertha Raymond, Rymeta Rosenbaum, Maura Shapiro, William Scher, Burl Silverstein, Fanny Teitelbaum, George Abrams, Patricia Serkis, Sadie Elner, Sudel Feinberg, Sylvia Levensfeld, Golda Leah Levinson, Murray Newer, Murray Novick, Milton Oxfeld, Saul Rosner, Morris Stoller, and Rose Sturman. Please rise now as we recall our loved ones and we join in reciting the Kaddish prayer. Yitkada v'yitkada shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach hiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei amayah. Yitbarach v'yishtavach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kudisha b'richu. Ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Ta'amiran v'yama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom v'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. Cantor and Kevin for our beautiful music this evening. I'd like to say a special thank you to Tommy O'Malley, who did all our filming and zooming and technology tonight. Thank you, Rabbi Berenbaum, for joining us for part one of this evening and sharing your story with us. And thank you to Cy Levine and Andy Boyarsky and the Daniel Pearl Center for making this happen for us this evening. We are actually going to conclude our service now with the Bore Motzi. To join us on the Zoom oneg and the Zoom discussion with Rabbi Berenbaum. It's a Zoom oneg. You have to bring your own food, though. Go to your own refrigerator, get your oneg food, and come meet us on Zoom. The Zoom link may be found on the Temple Bulletin. So on the Temple Bulletin, you'll find the Zoom link to join us for the after-service Zoom scheduled for 9 p.m. So we're to conclude with the Bore Motzi, and then we'll see everybody on Zoom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei puri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Shabbat shalom.